I'm Larry McDonough. Nice to see you tonight. Hope you're all doing well. We're having a blizzard here in Minnesota at the moment, but we're going to have a little bit of fun talking about Festivus tonight. We are streaming live tonight on December 23rd, but because of the weather, we recorded our music yesterday when it was still fall-like here in Minnesota, and we'll be running that video in segments in a little bit. Before we move on, talk about the show tonight, I want to let you know how you can support our music and our work here. You can support Larry McDonough Jazz by making donations to PayPal at paypal.me/Larry McDonough Jazz, or on Facebook Messenger. You can go to facebook.com and larry.mcdonough.9. And any donations are split among the band members equally. Now and then we choose to take our donations and give those to a local charitable organization. But this music is free to you tonight, but we hope that you will consider a donation. When we're playing this show in the clubs, we usually ask for a $10 donation. You can also support Larry McDonough Jazz by going, you can find our music at larrymcdonoughjazz.homestead.com. You can find it on CD Baby. You can also find it on iTunes and Spotify. So before we get started with Festivus, I'll just tell you a little bit about it, and then we will do a little bit of music to get you ready for Festivus, and then we'll get into the Festivus music program. So Festivus is a fictional alternative Christmas holiday that was invented for the Seinfeld show. It was created by George's father Frank, a somewhat dystopian holiday involving feats of strength and airing of grievances and Festivus miracles. But before we get started, we'd like to warm up with a piece that we recorded in the backyard yesterday, our version of Jingle Bells. It's a little bit more like a Bill Evans version of Jingle Bells, done a little more as a ballad and then a medium swing tune, along with a couple of poems by our saxophonist Richard Terrell. Other members of the band are Dean White on drums and Greg Stinson on bass. This is Jingle Bells with poetry by Richard Terrell.
Seasonal greeting. Now the pine boughs are bowed with the sad weight of winter's children, and the sun seems far from our homes and lives. This is the way we might begin a Christmas letter. The writer's object, to see how new a way he can describe the season, the weather as he looks out a window, or if it's dark, some internal weather that might be good written down. The sun lowers itself out my window, and I'm afraid I haven't written a word. It's not indecision wound down to silence, just the enormity of things. Darkness and other than darkness, gravity and the idea of light and nature. The man begging at the grocery store, whom I talk to, because he talks to me, and I like it. They're starting at the beginning of the story, in the middle of the threat of the ongoing. That is, a pine tree heavy with snow at the end of a short day when kids go home from school. Dear December, one of 30 nights I can't sleep. I awaken to motion in the last dark out the window, tight against the hillside. I put on my glasses to stop the glass in the old house from wavering. 3 of them, maybe 20 feet away, they nuzzle new snow, leaves and twigs not yet frozen hard. A poor diet, winter just begun. Foraging, chewing, staring lines into space, their necks both upright, only to the slight shift in what I imagine is wind. The things I can't hear, couldn't hear, for I was them outside, and not still warm, sick in bed. Then, a cardinal is winter red against the even gray of 6 a.m. Cloudy this time of year. I'll stay watching until I'm late for another morning meeting. My alarm clock not gone off, that must be it. I can't know how little I'll be missed. Seasonal greeting and dear December.
Well, I hope you like that. That was our version of Jingle Bells with poetry by Richard Terrell. Richard Terrell on saxes, Dean White on drums, Greg Stinson on bass, and I'm Larry McDonough. And we're here celebrating Festivus. So for those of you that are uninitiated with Festivus, it's time to get you up to speed. So here's a little clip from the Festivus episode of Seinfeld to give you the background on Festivus.
What?
Nothing. It's a card from my dad.
Dear son, happy Festivus? What is Festivus?
It's nothing. It's nothing.
When George was growing
Jerry,
up,
no.
his father hated all the commercial and religious aspects of Christmas,
Yeah.
so he made up his own holiday.
I'm out of here.
Happy Festivus!
It's Festivus.
When George was growing up, his father...
Nothing. It's nothing. It's a stupid holiday my father invented. It doesn't exist.
Happy Festivus, Georgie.
A new holiday was born. A Festivus for the rest of us. And at the Festivus dinner, you gather your family around and tell them all the ways they have disappointed you over the past year.
And is there a tree?
No, instead there's a pole. Requires no decoration. I find tinsel distracting.
Is that the pole?
George, Festivus is your heritage. It's part of who you are.
That's why I hate it.
Read that poem.
I can't read it. I need my glasses.
You don't need glasses, you're just weak. You're weak.
I find your belief system fascinating.
It's a Festivus miracle. Welcome, newcomers. The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're gonna hear about it. You, Kruger, my son tells me your company stinks.
Frank, no offense, but this holiday's a little out there.
Kramer, you can't go. Who's going to do the feats of strength?
How about George?
All right. Well, now you're pretty much up to speed on Festivus. So there are three principles upon which Festivus is founded. One is the airing of grievances, another the feats of strength, and kind of an auxiliary principle are Festivus miracles. So these are things that pretty much everyday occurrences that are considered miraculous by the character Kramer. Now you might have noticed the reference to the Festivus pole, and as you can see in the background here, we have the beheaded music stand is our version of the Festivus pole. So the first tune that we're going to do to celebrate Festivus is for the airing of grievances. And before I do that, I'd like to encourage you that are watching now or watching later to air your own grievances. You can do that in the Facebook comments. If you're watching on YouTube Live, you can do that in the comments there as well. I will start you off with a grievance. This is from a previous show that we did last year. We put out cards on the tables where people could put in information about their grievances, and we asked them to identify themselves as the grievance-sore and the person who committed the grievance as the grievance-see. So on this one, AJ reports that she was paying $200 an hour to her therapist and went in with a serious issue, and he told her that what she really needed to do was to use cherry-flavored and scented chapstick. And her comment on that was $200 an hour to be told to smell like chapstick. So with that, our first musical selection for Festivus, for airing of grievances, is the piece She's Too Good For Me. It's an old Sting tune from the album 10 Summoner's Tales. We do it as a 5/4 and more of a bebop swing tune. He did it more as kind of a screaming rock and roll tune. It's about a guy complaining about his girlfriend complaining about him. So we've got grievances going both ways. She's too good for me.
It's my time to want to try. She don't like the books I read, the way I feed, to save my life, to be my wife. Oh, things we play. She's too good for me. Would she prefer it if I washed myself more often than I do? Would she prefer it if I took her to an opera too? I could distort myself to be the perfect man. She should prefer me as I am. As I am. Oh, she don't wanna meet my folks, hear my jokes. It's my time to want to try. She don't like the books I read, the way I feel, to save my life, to be my wife. Oh, things we play. She's too good for me. She's too good for me.
I hope you like She's Too Good for Me. And I would encourage you to continue to air your grievances. Since this is Facebook and it's clearly private, no one will ever know. So you have kind of complete security in airing your deepest and darkest grievances. So I got an email grievance today, so I'd like to read that one to you. I'm going to keep it anonymous, but the grievanceur is... his name is Mark, and he says he hereby issues a Festivus grievance to his spouse. Said spouse believes that pure force of will can overpower forces of nature. That ain't right. Sometimes a blizzard means you gotta stay home, darling. So that's one example of a Festivus grievance, and we'll read some more as the evening goes on. So another tenet of Festivus is feats of strength. Essentially, feats of strength is Frank wrestling George to the ground every year from childhood into adulthood. Since we're a non-violent household here, we will not be engaging in any wrestling, but we will do a musical version of feats of strength. So for this, the Larry McDonough Quartet is going to perform We Are the Champions by Queen, but since we are a jazz group, we decided to layer it over Maiden Voyage by Herbie Hancock. That was We Are the Champions by Queen, layered over Maiden Voyage by Herbie Hancock. So I have to say, I'm a little disappointed that we're not getting more grievances in the Facebook comments. I know this is Minnesota, and a lot of people think that Minnesota is kind of a nice place where we're very polite, but I know better. You all are New Yorkers underneath. You just smile a lot. And so let's get those grievances out. So to prime the pump a little bit, here's another grievance from a past year. This is from Madeline. She says, every morning, in order to experience the joyful, life-giving sunshine, I have to raise the shades of every window in the house, which my husband has closed, because he wants to save our neighbors and any random passerbys the sight of him parading through our living room in his underwear. So clearly, he needs to make some changes. Listen to Madeline. The last of the Festivus principles that we're going to perform tonight is that of Festivus miracles. So Festivus miracles are pronouncements by the character Kramer, who's a little bit dim-witted. He's probably the most lovable of the Seinfeld characters. And he pronounces things that would happen every day without any thought as a Festivus miracle. So for that, we thought the best place to go was to the Wizard of Oz and If I Only Had a Brain.
I could while away the hours, conferring with the flowers, consulting with the bee. And my head, I'll be scratching. My thoughts were busy hatching. If I only had a brain, I'd unravel every riddle for every individual trouble or pain. With the thoughts you've been thinking, you could be a another Lincoln if you only had a brain. Oh, I can tell you why the ocean's near the shore. I could think of things I'd never thought before. And then it's simple, some more. Would not be just enough. My head all full of stuffing, my heart all full of pain. I would eat and be merry, life would be a thing of dairy if I only had a brain. While away the hours, consoling with the flowers, consulting with the rain. And my head, I'll be scratching, my thoughts were busy hatching, if I only had a brain. I'd unravel every riddle for every individual, and trouble or pain. The thoughts you'd be thinking could be another Lincoln if you only had a brain. I'll tell you why. Oceans near the shore, I could think of things I never thought before. Then it's my head all full of stuffing, my heart all full of pain. I could dance and be merry, life would be a thing of dairy if I only had a brain. If I only had
Okay, so some of you might have noticed a little smoke in the screen there. We were trying to be charitable to the band and to have a fire pit going, so every now and then we took a break and went over and warmed our hands. It wasn't really a nasty day by Minnesota standards. The high temperature was around 40, and for those of you that are watching this on December 23rd in Minnesota and experiencing a blizzard, we did record this yesterday, so we did not engage in any kind of supernatural activity that kept our backyard dry while everybody else is getting a foot of snow. Also wanted to encourage people to support Black Dog Café. Black Dog Café is where we've performed this show the last couple of years, and because of restrictions on clubs in Minnesota, because of the very high virus numbers that we have in the state right now, Black Dog is only able to do takeout orders and limited outside seating, which of course is not very good tonight except for the very hardy souls. So look up Black Dog Café. They're on Facebook. They also have their webpage. They have great food and great staff, and they've been hurting like most clubs and bars and restaurants are, so give them your support. We're now going to move into some post-Festivus material. We've done the 3 principles of Festivus. We're now going to do some music, our own versions of somewhat different and odd takes on holiday tunes. But before I do that, I want to continue with the airing of grievances theme. And I'd like to encourage you to air grievances in your Facebook comments or YouTube comments. So this one from a couple of years ago is the grievance sore is the loving husband. And the grievance C is the birthday girl. There's a little literary foreshadowing going on there. So he says, my wife claims it's our anniversary whenever there are announcement cards handed out, or wherever they go, no matter what. And it always leads to her getting like a free meal or a free drink. So he reported that with her sitting next to him, and he announced her kind of at the club, and so we all looked over at her, gave her kind of a nice shaming look, and her response was, so? In other words, what's the big deal? So keep those grievances coming. The next tune we're going to do for you is I'll Be Home for Christmas. And I think that's a fitting tune for right now in the pandemic, because the piece goes back to the war years. And it's about a guy, probably a guy, talking about what it will be like when he's home for Christmas. But you can tell as you get toward the end of the tune that he probably thinks he's not going to get home for Christmas, and this is just his wishes of what would happen if he did. And I think a lot of us are in that position right now, and I hope a lot of you are taking the virus seriously. This is December 23, 2020, for those of you that are watching this later, and we're in the midst of a pandemic. And so I hope you follow the lead of Dr. Fauci, who, after 30 years of having Christmas dinners with his kids, this year he is having just a dinner at home with his wife, and he's going to have a Zoom conference with his kids. So I hope you all are taking it as seriously as he does. So with that, I'll Be Home for Christmas.
Where the love I do I'll be home for Christmas if only in my dreams.
Probably see that there was a little bit of perspiration that was coming out of my mouth there. The temperature was starting to go down in the afternoon yesterday. Started off around 40 and it was starting to get a little bit colder as the day went on. But we hung in there, and I hope you're enjoying the music tonight. We hope that you'll support our music as well by making a donation, and you can make that donation to Larry McDonough Jazz either at PayPal or on Facebook Messenger. Live music is an art form, and we hope that you can support it financially as well. So next up, we've got a piece, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. And you might have noticed in the last track there was only one video shot. And essentially I ran out of time editing the video. We did the recording yesterday afternoon into the early evening, and I had enough time today to edit the various shots for the first 4 videos, but not the last 4. So you're kind of getting the shot as if you were just sitting in the audience and not moving around, as opposed to having a video editor give you different shots. This piece starts off with a drum solo of our really great drummer, Dean White. God rest ye merry gentlemen. Next up is Little Drummer Boy. Richard Terrell, our sax player and poet, and I recorded that on a CD a few years ago called Angels, Kings, My Favorite Things. And today we're presenting it also with Richard's poetry. He has a poem called The Ox and Lamb Kept Time, and that's from his poetry book that's out right now called What Falls Away Is Always. It's published by Holy Cow Press, and it's also available at his website, richardterrell.com. Little Drummer Boy and the Ox and Lamb Kept Time.
The ox and lamb kept time, little drummer boy. And so it came to pass in those days that the animals were musical. Their cloven hooves, caked hard in mud and waste, could thump a hollow sound at a steady pace on the barn floor, muted in straw. They never rushed, never dragged, against the steady progress of their beat, which was music to the heavens. It was only human that the animals, minders and tenders, shepherds, stable boys, thought they themselves played the musical instruments, whether pipes in the field or the drum of a child, and a song taken in true. For humans in those times, as now, saw themselves at the celestial center, a kingdom that rules the kingdom of beasts. Wise men with gifts, angels on harps and strings, may or may not have been present in the scene, depending on your level of belief. But the lambs and the oxen, they are unquestionable, beyond symbol, beyond faith. It was a barn, we know they were there, keeping time steady, inalterable, out of reach of human hands that shaped and misshaped the very planet to which all children are born, holy or not, on that night or any other. The carols are wrong. It is the flocks that kept watch by night. By instinct, maybe felt the pulse we cannot feel, and by their presence tell us we are not the masters.
Well, we've got one more piece tonight, and before we do that, I'd like to thank the band for coming out into the maybe not so cold weather by Minnesota standards, but certainly cold weather for playing music. I certainly don't miss my days in college of playing in marching band and carrying a trumpet in the late fall in the cold weather. So we have Dean White on drums, Greg Stinson on bass, Richard Terrell on saxes and poetry. Also like to thank some donations have been coming in via PayPal, and so thank you to those of you that are doing that. That supports the music, supports the band, and supports art. I want to read one more grievance before we get to our last tune, and this is from Richard. And he said, so this is about his brother for holding on to our comic book collection and not being able to find most of the comics because his house is too messy. There's still time for you to submit your own grievances. You can do it in the Facebook comments, or you can do it in the YouTube comments. The last piece we're going to do, and then I'll have a few closing remarks afterwards, is Christmas Time is Here. It's a darker time right now, and so this is a slightly darker version of that tune that most of you might know from the Charlie Brown Christmas special. Christmas Time is Here. Well, as you can see, we actually had some hearty soul neighbors out in the backyard in the alley watching the show the other day. So thanks to them for supporting it. Thanks for you for listening and watching tonight. A few more donations have been coming in, and so thanks for doing that. So I want to give out the credits here. The Larry McDonough Quartet is myself on piano, voice, and arrangements, Richard Terrell on saxes and poetry, Greg Stinson on bass, and Dean White on drums. And there's more about our music at larrymcdonoughjazz.homestead.com, and Richard Terrell's poetry and other writings at richardterrell.com. And again, you can still donate even after this show is done to our music. You can do that at PayPal to Larry McDonough Jazz, or you can find me on Facebook, either Larry McDonough, Larry.McDonough.9, or Larry McDonough Jazz. You can also find our recordings at larrymcdonoughjazz.homestead.com. That includes solo recordings by myself, a duo recording that I did with Richard, and several Larry McDonough Quartet recordings. So again, thanks for joining us tonight. For those of you that are in Minnesota and are hunkered down for the blizzard, hang in there, this too shall pass. For the rest of you around the country that are hunkering down for the virus, this too shall pass too. But in both situations, we need to be careful. Just like we're not out walking in shorts in the blizzard, we should be being careful and social distance and wearing masks during the virus. Get the vaccine, And hopefully we'll get back to another point where we can do live music in the clubs again. And lastly, support Black Dog Café, which would have hosted this show tonight. We had it on the calendar December 23rd last year. We booked it for December 23rd this year, but the virus got in the way. So support Black Dog. Go there, get their food. It's wonderful food, wonderful people. Support their work. And if we all take the virus seriously, maybe this will be an in-person show next year. So have a good night. Thanks for attending, and we'll see you soon.